that have popped up in the past years. It's a multi-billion-dollar enterprise. It's just exploding. Very cool. I find it interesting. So my research, my research paper, I explored the different ways that drones are used and how in the future it could change. My big question was about privacy and how how legislation, how it's going to get pushed through legislation. And actually, I discovered through that research that the FAA, which is the Federal Aviation Administration, they haven't really addressed the issue of privacy. They've only given like regulations for, oh, it has to be this way, oh, you have to get a license, like things like that. They haven't really addressed it, so I thought it was very cool researching that, finding out that there really isn't anything happening. So hopefully something happens. I don't know. In my research, there is no federal legislation on privacy in the states. They've done a lot of things like not using them at all to not really caring, and it's interesting seeing the discrepancies and differences. It's kind of like legalization of weed is kind of like that. Like it's in different states. It's in different states, but some states don't have it. Just the same with drones. In some states, they have drones. Some states, it's like completely prohibited. So it's very cool doing that. So here's a picture of a drone, and this was during my internship, which I'll get to. So here's my mentor, really cool dude named John Blackmore. Works at Luxstone. I interned at Luxstone. So what John does is he's the GIS coordinator. He started out just as that, and GIS is the Geographic Information Systems, and that's taking different maps and putting layers on top. So like, actually, Houston County, every county has a GIS system, like a website that you can go to. I don't know if anyone knows about that. I remember looking at it when I was in like middle school and being interested in it, but it's like different layers, like watersheds and like property values and things like that. They all go into each other. So he does work with that, but with the Luxstone company, and with the Luxstone company, that entails a lot of things with like where they do shot blasts and things like that in their quarries. So what John does with his team and how he basically built his own role, which I thought was really cool, was he made it so for doing taxes on their rocks in the quarries, they can't physically go out and weigh them because there's just rocks everywhere. Like in this picture, you can see this thing. Well, so there's a thing that spins around and like places rocks as it comes down this conveyor, and it like makes huge semicircles of rocks that are piled way high up. So I mean, if they wanted to weigh it, I guess they could put a giant scale under it, but that's not very feasible. So what they used to do up until very recently, when John started working, they would fly an airplane. They would have a guy fly an airplane, take a picture of all their sites. So we're talking a double-digit number of sites. It costs a lot of money to fly an airplane. They would fly that, and then they would ship the pictures, like I don't know, film. I don't know what you would call it, but it was old-fashioned and something I didn't really understand. So they would ship that to the Luck Corporation headquarters. Then from there, they would ship to all the foremen at the plants. They would literally just take a marker. They showed me like old ones. They would take a marker and circle on the map where their piles were, and then that would get shipped to a guy down in Georgia, and the guy in Georgia would actually calculate. I don't know how, some sort of mathematical wizard. He would calculate how much that weighs, looking at a 2D like picture. So he was like, well, we can do something about that. We can change that. So what he did is he started using drones to take pictures, and he has to build different reference points, and the drone will fly around with a predetermined path. It's all with satellites. It's actually really cool how everything's based off of coordinates. It's really fascinating. So like right here, one of those reference points they're making, and the point of these reference points is when the drone drones was at their quarry, they did blasting, and they don't really know how, because something that shouldn't have happened. A giant crack that actually was worse than that shot across the road, and then the road of their quarry, which big trucks are driving on, so it's kind of unsafe, and then shot up the side of their wall that you can't really see pictured, but it was way up. So it's kind of terrifying, because what if there's an earthquake and everything just goes away? So So I went, and they were doing more blasting, and what they did with the drones is him and his coworker flew the drones out and came over and videotaped the explosion to see like what happened afterwards. This is after that explosion, and you can see like right there how the crack kind of opened up again after they covered it up. So it's interesting seeing it like different commercial uses for drones and how innovative they're being with using this, because this is does this like this is cutting edge kind of stuff. So that's me with a little stick. It's a little GPS stick, and it has a little thumb tubes. It's very fun. So in this picture, that's what I'm doing. I thought my internship was very significant because through the different things I did, which I could go into great detail about, but I would be talking for hours, I learned that you may want to go into like a field. Like I want to do something with computer science, but there's a lot of things in the real world that you really get involved with other than just computer science. Like you're not going to be sitting behind a computer. He sits behind a computer and does GIS stuff, also does drone work, also does work. He did work with the financial department with like we had to he had to teach someone how to use this program that he uses for drawing the maps to show them how to do that, and then they would draw on the maps like where properties were, because they were trying to rent off or sell properties of the one corporation. So it was interesting to see like how when you actually learn, like you actually get a degree and you actually go into the real world, you're not just doing what your degree is, you actually do things. And I thought that was significant. Taught me that you're actually supposed to do other things than what you learn. So for my community service and my legacy, I tied them together. What I'm going to be doing, I haven't done it yet. What I'm doing is I'm going to fundraise through bake sales money for this organization called Reprieve, and it's a British organization that is working to gain rights and accountability for people who are like unrightfully targeted for drone attacks. So like you always hear about in the news, there's we blew up a bunch of terrorists. Like you always hear about that, but you never hear about the family that got affected next door. Half of them are dead. They have no house. Like really messed up stuff, and no one's responsibility. So this organization is through legal action and also supporting those families, is trying to fight for their rights. So that's where I'm sending my money. So what I learned about myself, well, actually, in this picture, everyone's watching that blast that I was telling you about. It'd be really cool to show you a video, but I don't be fly, so I didn't do that. So what I learned about myself is, you know, I don't really know how to put this. Kind of not good at people, basically. Like we were walking around the office and we're like talking to different people, and someone who I knew, like a lot of people that work there I knew because of my dad, but someone asked me what I was going to college for, and I told them college, and like I just felt like a big idiot. Like, it was like, what are you going to college for? College. And he was like, oh, where are you going to college for? So like I learned that I have a lot of work to do on myself, and yeah. So in the future, looking forward, I'm going to Randolph-Macon, and I'm going to major in computer science. I don't exactly know what I'm going to focus in. After doing this project with drones, I was kind of interested in actually exploring that. And the cool thing is, in the past few years, Randolph-Macon has purchased drones. They started a drone program, and I actually interviewed a professor at the college who did work with it. So I learned a lot about their programs and all that. So I was really excited for that. And then any advice I would give, don't
you start off by talking about what the future might look like with drones, and of course, probably the biggest thing in the news in terms of what consumers, besides being able to go to the Apple store now and buy a drone, is that Amazon might use a drone and drop off a box at your house.
Yeah.
When I think forward, and read articles because I'm very interested in this myself, maybe 5 years or 10 years down the road, when we go outside, you're always going to see things in the air, right? Which would be very different from now. Now, if you see one, it's like, ooh, there's a stop, there's a drone. What is that? And we get used to this buzzing around us because things are taking pictures or they're delivering things. Or were there concerns in your research about beyond privacy? Because that is a, right now you can go out and buy a drone and spy on your neighbor, basically, like positioning it outside a window. But some of the concerns that I know folks have brought up are things like terrorism.
Yeah.
That you could go out and buy a drone off the shelf, but attach a bomb to it, fly it downtown Richmond, and then set it off.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering in your research with the FAA and stuff, if people have come up with any solutions for that.
No, the only time in my research, most of it was law journals, so it was just people discussing like the different, basically loopholes to a bunch of laws and how drones, like, you could easily justify something with drones and be like, oh, well, it's my right. So I didn't really, the only, I'm trying to think words, it was like people, they interviewed people who are related to the industry, like I guess vendors and then software engineers, people like that. And it was about privacy, but they were saying that like even though it was about privacy, they were saying things like it doesn't matter to us what you do with these drones. It doesn't matter. We made them for whatever purpose. So like military drones, we made it so it flies bomb, blows things up. I don't care what you do with it. I just designed it so you would buy it. So they don't. It doesn't seem like they even care. Like unless they make their money at the end of the day. So there hasn't, from what I read, I didn't see anything about concerns about that.
It seems to me, both with your interest in where you want to leave your legacy with this project and your interest in computer science, there may be a huge opportunity to design systems that help protect citizens, seeing that folks making these things are not so interested
Yeah.
in the bigger picture. But.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking about when I was doing research. I was like, that would probably be a way to make money.
Max, this is kind of a question for you and for who's got drones for tomorrow? You guys pro or con? You con? Okay. Max, so they got to do their ethics and technology presentation. You remember doing that many years ago.
Yeah.
So anything you can give them that